4 years ago in 2008 was the second time in the history of the City of Davis in my lifetime when we did not have turnover in the Davis City Council. 4 years ago was the only time since I've been a freshman in college, a senior in college, when we didn't have some change in the Davis City Council. And I think that contributed enormously to the dysfunctionality of the Davis City Council. That was the one other point I forgot to make. Okay, if you are elected to the Davis City Council,
okay,
what are the 3 things that you care about the most, that you want to make sure that when people hear you, they get that message?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Well, okay, what's your most important issue that you care about?
I think the biggest issue that the city currently faces is the budget issue. It's not quite as dramatic as the water issue. For a lot of people, it doesn't get them excited. But I think the city faces some very serious long-term structural deficits. And I think it's important that we use this opportunity now to renegotiate the labor contracts so that the labor portion of our budget is sustainable. And I've been talking with people. I met with Paul Novazio and looked at some of the numbers. And my sense is that we can maintain our current level of staffing, so I wouldn't think that layoffs are necessary. I think the city employees do an important job in our community. But what we can do is we can ask them to pay a portion of their pension costs and a portion of their retiree benefit costs. And if we do that over time, it'll allow us to have a balanced budget and not have a greater and greater proportion of our budget going to employee costs. And that's the big problem. The problem is not so much that today we have an unsustainable budget in terms of this year. The problem is, as time goes on, that wedge of the pie keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually we don't have any money left over for parks or street lights or fixing the sidewalks or just the basic things that cities need to take care of. So I would say that's the #1 issue. And we have, I think, a golden opportunity to address that issue head on this year, because the economy is not doing so well. So there's a sense in the community, the entire community, that it would be reasonable to have people start contributing more towards their pensions and more towards their health care benefits. And so in the past, I think people weren't maybe paying attention, and then also in the past people might have had a mixed view, like, oh, well, what's the big deal? What's wrong with giving somebody a 5% raise? Well, people get it. People get that the state isn't contributing as much money to the city, and we really do have to tighten our belts. And the idea is not that we're harsh and negative and look for scapegoats. It's really we just have to have a sensible budget going forward. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think, it's probably not going to be necessarily comfortable, but it's something that has to be done. And I think there are enough people in the community who agree that something must be done, that we would have the popular support so that we could get it done. So that would be #1.